What if the impossible became possible? Imagine a world where the stuff of comic books and movies became our reality. Think about it. The power to control the elements, to teleport across continents, or maybe even bend time itself. Join us as we dive headfirst into this exciting and thought-provoking question. What if humans had superpowers? It started subtly, almost like a whisper. Someone discovered they could run faster than humanly possible. Another found they could heal a cut instantly, and a child, playing in their backyard, lifted a car to retrieve their lost ball. At first, these were isolated incidents, dismissed as flukes or hoaxes. But as these occurrences became more frequent, a wave of bewildered excitement and fear swept the globe. The world held its breath, caught between the familiar comfort of the ordinary and the terrifying, exhilarating potential of the extraordinary. How would we handle this newfound power? Would it unite us or tear us apart? Imagine a world where the impossible is as common as catching a bus. That's the reality we're diving into. A world where humans possess superpowers. We're talking about abilities that defy the laws of nature as we know them. Flight, once a symbol of freedom reserved for birds and planes, could become as commonplace as riding a bike. Picture soaring above traffic jams, feeling the wind in your hair, and looking down at the world from a whole new perspective. But flight is just the tip of the iceberg. Imagine the power of telekinesis, the ability to move objects with your mind. Telekinesis would reshape our relationship with the physical world, making the impossible possible with a mere thought. Now let's talk about super strength. Forget about gym memberships and protein shakes. With super strength, you could bench press a car, lift a fallen tree to rescue a trapped hiker, or maybe even help build a house in a day. But what about invisibility? Picture the possibilities, the secrets you could uncover, the places you could go unnoticed. Invisibility in the wrong hands could have serious consequences, leading to a world of espionage, mistrust, and maybe even a new breed of practical jokes. And then there's elemental control, the ability to command the very forces of nature. From manipulating weather patterns to causing natural disasters, the potential for chaos is undeniable. But superpowers wouldn't just be about spectacular feats of strength or bending the elements to our will. What if some people developed the ability to heal others with a touch, mending broken bones instantly, or curing diseases that have plagued humanity for centuries? But what about the powers of the mind? Telepathy, the ability to communicate with thoughts alone, could revolutionize the way we interact. The possibilities are endless, but one thing is certain. A world with superpowers would be a world unlike anything we've ever known. Let's face it, work would never be the same. Forget 9 to 5, forget boring office cubicles. With superpowers in the mix, the job market would get a serious upgrade. Construction workers with super strength could erect skyscrapers in record time, lifting steel beams like they were twigs. And what about communication? Forget emails and Zoom calls. Telepathic executives could seal deals with a thought, instantly understanding their clients' needs and desires. But hold on, not so fast. The transition would be bumpy, demanding new ways to train and employ people whose skills no longer fit the bill. Imagine a world where hospitals aren't filled with the beeping of machines, but with the soft glow of healing hands. With superpowers, diseases that once seemed invincible could vanish with a touch. Emergency rooms would transform into havens of instant recovery, broken bones mended in seconds, burns healed without a scar. But this new era of healthcare wouldn't be without its challenges. Remember traffic jams? Those frustrating hours wasted in gridlock could become a distant memory. With the power of flight or teleportation, commuting would take on a whole new meaning. Imagine soaring above the city, feeling the wind in your hair as you bypass the morning rush, or teleporting from New York to London for an afternoon tea. The implications for travel and infrastructure would be enormous. Forget airports and train stations. We'd need landing pads on skyscrapers and teleportation hubs buzzing with commuters. But this transportation revolution would come with its own set of challenges. The freedom of movement would be exhilarating, but it would also demand a new set of rules and precautions. Get ready for the Super Olympics. Imagine athletes pushing the boundaries of human potential like never before. Runners breaking the sound barrier, basketball players soaring through the air for gravity-defying dunks, swimmers parting the water with superhuman speed. Stadiums would need to be reinforced, rules rewritten, and the very definition of athletic achievement redefined. But it wouldn't just be about physical feats. Imagine concerts where musicians control the very emotions of the audience, or movies where special effects pale in comparison to the real-life superpowers on display. Entertainment would become an immersive, mind-blowing experience, blurring the lines between reality and fantasy. In a world where humans wield powers once reserved for gods, the biggest question wouldn't be can we, but should we? What happens when someone uses their powers for personal gain at the expense of others? Who decides what constitutes responsible use of these extraordinary abilities? The future of humanity wouldn't just depend on how we use our newfound powers, but on whether we could develop the wisdom and compassion to use them responsibly. In a world where some are gifted with the power of flight while others remain earthbound, the concept of equality takes on a whole new meaning. Would those with extraordinary abilities be seen as superior, a new elite class ruling over ordinary humans? Imagine a world where job applications ask, "Can you fly?" or "What's your telekinesis rating?" The gap between the haves and the have-nots could widen into a chasm, creating a society riven by envy, resentment, and perhaps even open conflict. Should everyone have equal opportunities regardless of their superpowers? Or would some form of affirmative action be necessary to level the playing field? The dream of a just and equitable society would require a delicate balancing act, ensuring that the extraordinary doesn't come at the expense of the ordinary. If superpowers became a reality, could we resist the temptation to enhance them, to push the limits of human potential even further? The allure of such enhancements would be hard to resist, but at what cost? Would we create a society where those with the most resources could literally buy their way to the top, further exacerbating existing inequalities? The pursuit of superpower enhancement could lead us down a slippery slope, a path where the quest for perfection could ultimately erode our humanity. Imagine the halls of power, usually filled with suits and hushed whispers, now buzzing with anxieties about citizens who can fly, teleport, or control the weather. Governments around the world would scramble, trying to grasp the implications of this superpowered era. Some governments, driven by a need to control, might try to register or catalog those with superpowers, like a DMV for the extraordinary. Others might see this as an opportunity, a chance to create superpowered military units or intelligence agencies. Would international organizations like the United Nations step in, attempting to establish global norms and regulations? This brave new world would demand a new kind of diplomacy, one where the art of negotiation meets the awe-inspiring potential of the extraordinary. Forget traditional warfare. Imagine conflicts where countries unleash armies of super soldiers. Telekinetic espionage becomes the norm, and the threat of a rogue nation led by a power-hungry supervillain hangs over the world. International relations would be thrown into a state of upheaval, with the balance of power shifting in unpredictable ways. Countries with a high concentration of superpowered individuals might find themselves in a dominant position, wielding influence beyond their traditional economic or military might. But power, as they say, is a double-edged sword. The fear of superpower inequality could lead to new arms races, with nations pouring resources into developing technologies to enhance their own citizens, or counter the abilities of their rivals. The very nature of diplomacy would be transformed. Imagine summits where world leaders have to consider not just trade deals and military alliances, but also the potential consequences of a telepathic misunderstanding or a demonstration of super strength gone wrong. The stakes would be higher, the possibilities both exhilarating and terrifying. The world would hold its breath, wondering if this new era of superpowered geopolitics would lead to unprecedented cooperation or unimaginable conflict. We've explored the exciting possibilities of a superpowered world, but there's a flip side. What happens when these abilities fall into the wrong hands? Imagine bank robbers walking through walls or terrorists teleporting bombs. Powers that elevate humanity could also be our undoing. Crime would reach new levels of complexity and danger, superpowered heists, leaving bewildered witnesses and shattered concrete. The potential for unintended consequences would be a constant shadow. Now, let's talk about the human element. How would we, as individuals and as a society, cope with the psychological impact of living in a world where some people can defy the laws of nature? Imagine the envy, the resentment, the pressure to conform in a world where being ordinary suddenly feels like a liability. Those born without superpowers might experience a sense of alienation, of being less than those gifted with extraordinary abilities. The pressure to compete, to measure up in a world where the bar for achievement has been raised to superhuman levels, could lead to anxiety, depression, and a sense of inadequacy. And what about those with superpowers? Imagine the burden of responsibility, the fear of losing control, the pressure to use your abilities for good even when you're struggling with your own personal demons. The psychological toll of being different, of being set apart from the rest of humanity, could be immense. This superpowered world wouldn't just test our physical limits, it would test our emotional resilience, our capacity for empathy, and our ability to create a society where everyone feels valued, regardless of their abilities. Imagine a world where the problems that have plagued humanity for centuries are solved, not by technology, but by the very people who inhabit it. This is the utopian vision of a superpowered society, a world where extraordinary abilities are harnessed for the greater good. Picture cities powered by renewable energy, generated by those who can control the elements. Imagine diseases eradicated, thanks to healers who can mend the body at a cellular level. Envision a world without poverty or hunger, where those with super strength and telekinesis work tirelessly to provide for those in need. In this world, international conflicts would be resolved through diplomacy and understanding, facilitated by those who can bridge cultural divides with telepathy and empathy. Education would be revolutionized, with telepathic tutors unlocking the potential of every student, and scientific advancements would occur at an unprecedented pace, driven by minds capable of solving the universe's most complex mysteries. This is the optimistic vision, the hope that with great power comes great responsibility, and that humanity, given the chance, would rise to the occasion using its newfound abilities to create a brighter future for all. But what if our superpowered future isn't a utopia, but a descent into chaos and division? Imagine a world where the strong prey on the weak, where those with extraordinary abilities rule with an iron fist. Governments weaponize superpowers, creating armies of super soldiers in perpetual conflict. Cities divided along superpower lines, with the superior living in opulence while others struggle. Trust becomes a distant memory, replaced by suspicion and paranoia. This is the cautionary tale, warning that without justice and equality, our superpowered future could become our worst nightmare. So there you have it. We've journeyed through a world turned upside down, where the impossible is everyday life. Superpowers could revolutionize everything from construction to healthcare, but we've also stared down the very real dangers. A world with superpowers isn't a simple yay or nay situation. It's a tangled web of what-ifs and how-comes. Would we build a brighter future, or would our darker instincts prevail? Would we bridge the gap between the superpowered and the ordinary? Would governments become guardians or tools for power? These aren't just hypothetical questions. They're reflections of our values, hopes, and fears. What does it mean to be human in a world forever changed? We've thrown a lot of ideas at you folks, a glimpse into a future as uncertain as it is exciting. But now it's your turn. We want to hear from you. Would you want to live in a world with superpowers? What abilities would you hope to see? And what dangers would you be most worried about? Would you strive to be a hero, using your powers for good? Or maybe you'd embrace a life of anonymity, keeping your abilities hidden from a world that might not understand. Let us know in the comments below. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this mind-bending adventure. And don't forget to subscribe for more thought-provoking scenarios and explorations of the what-ifs that keep us up at night. And hey, if you could have any superpower, what would it be? Think about it. Embrace the possibilities and let your imagination run wild. After all, in a world where anything is possible, the only limit is our own imagination. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep dreaming of the extraordinary.